It
Yes.
literally made it easier for them to grow. They have become a huge customer in the area and in the industry.
Well, welcome, Kent. Thank you for spending time with us. And I'm excited to hear all about Thinksoft. So, do you want to tell me a little bit about your company and your journey and path to success and all that?
Oh, well, thank you so much. It's just great to be here. We love Odoo, and great to be here for Odoo Days, and we're just having a great time. Thinksoft has been around for quite a long time. Actually, we've been in the IT industry for 25 years,
Wow.
but we actually started working with Odoo back with version 6.1.
Wow. Okay. Good. So, one of
Yeah,
the early ones.
yeah. So, in fact, we remember going down to San Francisco, doing some training back in 2011. We took training on 6.1, and yeah, it was just amazing. Um, just the other day, Fabrice and I were chit chatting about, just how much, what it was like back then. We went down there, there was like maybe 12, 15 staff or whatever,
Yeah.
and just how much Odoo has grown since then. It's just amazing.
Right. Yeah. We're pretty proud of our growth too.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we're located in Edmonton, Alberta,
Mhm.
and we're incorporated in Canada. We're registered across many different provinces, registered in Alberta, Saskatchewan, British Columbia, Ontario.
Mhm.
And so we're readily available to help any customers that need it.
Nice. So, speaking of customers, do you guys specialize in any specific field or sector, or is it just kind of all over? What can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we specialize in manufacturing and distribution. So being located in Alberta, it's an oil and gas country,
Mhm.
right? And so we're very familiar with the industry, with the market there. And so we do a lot of work with clients that are downstream providers in the oil and gas industry. So there's a lot of manufacturing, whether it's in gaskets, pipes, whatever, and all of the related fields. And so we do a lot of work with that in
Mhm.
manufacturing and distribution.
Okay. And what made you choose Odoo back when it was in 6.0? What made you decide?
Well, this is really interesting because back at that time, we had a client that was growing,
Mhm.
and they were in oil and gas. And so I'd say at that time they probably had around 20 employees or so. They were outgrowing QuickBooks, and they needed to move to something larger, something that could allow them to embark on manufacturing,
Mhm.
something that would help them manage that, something that would help them manage their inventory better, their distribution. And so initially we thought, well, maybe they need a custom program.
Mhm.
And so we looked at maybe writing software, but then you know what? The thought came to mind, well, I wonder if there's something out there
Yeah.
that is already done, but is customizable,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And so then we started to look around and came across a few different things. Like, there was Compierre, Dampierre, there was a few different things, but we came across OpenERP.
Mhm.
And
Yep. Our original name. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and we looked at it, and you know what? I really loved how it was open source. I loved the interface. It seemed to be easier to work with even at that time.
Mhm.
And so then we thought, well, why don't we go this route? Why don't we look into OpenERP? And then that's when we went down. We took training and this and that. Well, eventually that client launched in version 8
Mhm.
in 2015, and so it actually speaks to the benefit of being in Odoo, because now you have a client, they were like 20 employees, they're $1 million business. And what has Odoo helped them to do?
Mhm.
It's actually helped them scale their business.
That's
It,
awesome.
it
Yes.
literally made it easier for them to grow.
Mhm.
So now their staff is 4 times the size. They're a 10 million or more dollar company.
Wow. Yeah.
They have multi warehouse, and they have become a huge customer in the area and in the industry.
Mhm. That's fantastic. Yeah, and you help fuel that. Without your help and their integration Odoo, they wouldn't be where they are today. So it sounds
Yeah,
like.
and so when you see something like that, you don't often get to hear an experience of 10 years,
Mhm.
right? So what does this look like? What will 10 years look like for my company
Mhm.
if we do this, right? Or this customer, that customer, right? And so when you look at that, it really gives, it really helps people who are looking at Odoo today to
Mhm.
understand that this is the tool that's going to help you scale.
Yeah.
This is what you need, you know, and it's going to help you grow and give you what you need to become a bigger company.
Has there been any kind of implementation that was, let's say, challenging, or you had to have any creative solutions, or and just any memorable implementations you might want to share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we learned from one of our implementations, and actually it's there's two things that come up. One is scope creep,
Mhm.
which can be very difficult to manage,
Mhm.
and the other thing is cold feet,
Oh, yeah.
right? You know, so for example, if you have a large company and you know you're flipping the switch, or you're going into Odoo, and you hit day one, there can be cold feet about that when you've got hundreds of employees,
Yeah.
right?
Change is always scary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, change is scary, right? So, so when it comes to dealing with those two things, there's some things that we've learned in the process, and some things that some best practices that we've that that we're using
Mhm.
that are really helpful. So, for example, one of those things is train the trainer.
Mhm.
Now, when we think of train the trainer, we're often thinking, okay, train the manager of the department.
Mhm.
Okay, get all the managers on board, and that's great. But suppose this manager is looking after 20 or 30 people,
Yeah.
right? So what we like to do is actually a train the champion.
Mhm.
So what we want is that manager to pick maybe two or three people in his department.
Mhm.
Who would you recommend as a champion? Who would you recommend that we train? Who maybe is comfortable with technology? They're comfortable working with a computer.
Mhm.
Maybe they're quick learners, but they're real stars. They're stars in their company,
Yeah.
right? And so, who can you recommend as a champion?
Yeah.
So,
That's a very good strategy. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, right. So we train those champions, and then what happens is their colleagues feel comfortable,
Mhm.
right? So, they don't know what to do on this screen or that screen. They can go right to their colleague and say, "Hey, how do I do this? How do I do that?" And they're confidently able to share that information and really explain what needs to be done.
Mhm.
But one of the things that we learn is that it's actually better to get those champions involved in the process early on.
Mhm.
Because we often thought, okay, well, let's go through the implementation. We're talking to managers, owners. We're going through the whole thing, and then we'll train everybody at the end.
Mhm.
But what happens is, if you do that, then those champions, they come to the training. Well, guess what? They're like, well, what about this?
Yeah, and they
Uh,
see some gaps or some rooms for improvement or just something that wasn't
right?
thought of.
You
Yeah.
know, you know, there is stuff that they do day to day
Mhm.
that others in other departments or owners, whatever, are unaware of,
Mhm.
that are really important. They're things that need to be addressed, right?
Yeah.
And so what happens is, when we discover those things, if we discover those things later in the process, now you've got scope creep.
Mhm.
So now the scope is growing and growing and growing. We're adding on all these things, right?
Yeah.
But if we can involve champions, identify them early on, get them
Mhm.
involved, get them to the table, start some training, say, hey, this is where we're going, this is what
Mhm.
we're doing, and then get their feedback. That can help us to identify these things really early on,
Mhm.
and then just kind of keep everything in scope.
Yep. Yeah. Stick to the plan.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Which is very hard to do
Yeah,
sometimes. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, so that's a key thing that we find really helps to manage that scope creep. But
Mhm.
also, we talk about cold feet,
Mhm.
and it's easy to get cold feet But if you're training staff early on and you're going through these processes early on, and maybe multiple training sessions, maybe multiple test databases, and that's what we've done is, okay, we want your staff to go in and play with it, try it out, work on it, in this test environment. So we did early training, got them to play with it. We went back a few months later, did some more training. And this really helps to alleviate that cold feet feeling,
Yeah.
and because you have a higher confidence in your staff and your employees being ready to go live.
Yeah.
So definitely a good way to manage that.
Good. Yeah, sounds like a very good learning experience and
Oh,
very helpful.
absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you for being a partner. Thank you for promoting Odoo, using Odoo, and loving Odoo, and spreading the joy and magic of Odoo.
Right on. Thank you very much.